They told us the core was intact. We believed them. My name is Viktor Nikolaevich Smagin. I was 34 years old in April 1986. I had worked at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant for 9 years. I knew every corridor, every control room, every pipe. I knew the sound the turbines made when they were running correctly. I knew the smell of the machine oil we used on Tuesdays. I knew that plant better than I knew my own apartment. On the night of April 25th, I was not on shift. I was home with my wife, Galina, and our daughter, Anya. She was 7. She had lost a tooth that week and kept showing everyone the gap when she smiled. We were watching television, some program about agriculture. Galina was knitting. Anya was drawing. It was a Friday night. Ordinary. I went to bed around 10:30. I had the weekend off. We were planning to visit Galina's mother in Kiev on Sunday. Anya wanted to bring her drawings to show her grandmother. Galina had already packed a bag. The phone rang at 1:47 in the morning. I know the exact time because I looked at the clock next to the bed before I answered. I thought someone had died. That is what you think when the phone rings in the middle of the night. It was Brukhanov, the plant director. His voice was tight. "Viktor Nikolaevich, there has been an accident at the plant. We need you immediately." "What kind of accident?" "There was a test. Unit 4. Something went wrong. We need all senior engineers on site now." "Is anyone hurt?" "Just come. As fast as you can." He hung up. Galina was already sitting up. "What happened?" "Something at the plant. I have to go." "In the middle of the night?" He said immediately. I got dressed. I did not shower. I put on the same clothes I had worn that day. Galina stood in the doorway of the bedroom. She had her arms crossed. She looked worried but not frightened. Not yet. "When will you be back?" "I do not know. Probably in a few hours. It is probably something small." I did not believe that. Brukhanov would not call in the middle of the night for something small. But I said it anyway, to make her less worried, to make myself less worried. I kissed her forehead. She smelled like the hand cream she always used before bed. Lavender. "Be careful," she said. "I always am." That was the last normal conversation we ever had. I drove to the plant. The roads were empty. It was dark, spring in Ukraine, so the air still had that cold edge to it at night. I rolled down the window. I smoked a cigarette. I tried to think about what kind of accident would require calling in engineers at 2 in the morning. A pipe burst, a small fire, a cooling system failure. Those were the things I imagined, not what I saw when I arrived. The sky was wrong. That was the first thing I noticed. There was a glow, not like dawn. Dawn comes slowly, soft and orange. This was sharp, blue-white, unnatural. It came from the direction of Unit 4. I parked near the administrative building. There were already other cars, other engineers, other managers, people standing outside smoking, looking toward the glow. No one was talking loudly. Everyone had the same expression. Confusion. I walked toward the building. I passed Anatoly Stepanovich Dyatlov, the deputy chief engineer. He was standing near the entrance. His face was red. He was shouting at someone. I could not hear what he was saying. I kept walking. Inside, the halls were full of people. Some in work clothes, some in pajamas with jackets thrown over them. Everyone had been called from their homes. There were voices everywhere, but no one seemed to know what had happened. I found Brukhanov in the main control room. He was standing near the panel. His tie was crooked. He looked like he had not slept. "Viktor Nikolaevich," he said when he saw me. "Good, you are here. What happened?" "There was an explosion during a safety test. The reactor. There has been damage." "What kind of damage?" He hesitated. That hesitation told me more than his words. "We are still assessing." "Where is the fire brigade?" "They are already here. They have been fighting the fire for over an hour." I looked around the room. There were charts on the walls, diagrams, radiation readings. But everything looked normal. The lights were on. The equipment was functioning. It did not look like a disaster. What do you need me to do? We need to go to Unit 4. We need to see the damage. We need to assess whether the core is intact. The core. That word hung in the air. If the core was not intact, if the core was exposed, then we were not dealing with a simple accident. We were dealing with something else, something that had no name yet. Who is going? I asked. You, me, Fomin, Sitnikov, a few others. Nikolai Fomin was the chief engineer. Sitnikov was the plant's senior operational manager. If they were sending senior management to inspect the damage, it meant the situation was serious. When? I asked. Now. We left the control room. There were 5 of us. Brukhanov, Fomin, Sitnikov, another engineer named Petrovsky, and me. We walked through the plant. It was strange. Half of the plant was functioning normally. The lights were on. The equipment hummed. Workers passed us in the halls. But the closer we got to Unit 4, the stranger things became. The air smelled wrong. It is hard to describe. It was not smoke. It was not burning plastic or metal. It was something else. Sharp. Bitter. It made the inside of my mouth taste like metal. Like I had bitten my tongue and it was bleeding. But I had not. No one mentioned the smell. We just kept walking. We reached the exterior door that led to the area near Unit 4. Brukhanov pushed it open. The night air hit us. And the glow. It was so bright. Brighter than any fire I had ever seen. It came from above, from the roof of the reactor building. Blue-white light pouring into the sky like a searchlight. And there were pieces. Large pieces of graphite and metal scattered on the ground. Some of them were still glowing, red hot. The firemen were everywhere. Hoses, ladders, water spraying, but the fire was not going out. It looked like the fire was inside the building, inside the reactor itself, and the water was doing nothing. My God, Petrovsky said quietly. Fomin turned to Brukhanov. The core cannot be exposed. It is not possible. The explosion must have been in the hydrogen system. A steam explosion. The core is intact. He said it like he was trying to convince himself. We walked closer. The ground was wet from the fire hoses. There were pieces of debris everywhere. I bent down to look at one of them. It was graphite. I knew graphite. We used it as a moderator in the reactor core. This piece was the size of a brick. It was warm. I could feel the heat radiating from it even though I was not touching it. If there was graphite on the ground outside the reactor building, and then the core was not intact. I stood up. I did not say anything. I did not need to. The others had seen it too. Sitnikov said, "We need to get to the roof. We need to see the reactor hall." "You cannot get to the roof," one of the firemen said. He was standing near us, holding a hose. His face was covered in soot. "The roof is gone. There is just a hole. And light." "A hole," Brukhanov repeated. "The entire central hall. It is open. You can see inside." Fomin shook his head. "That is not possible. The reactor is designed to withstand—" "I saw it," the fireman said. "I was up there. The roof is gone. You can see inside the reactor." There was a long silence. The only sound was the water from the hoses and the crackling of the fire. Brukhanov turned to Sitnikov. "Go to the roof. Confirm what he is saying." Sitnikov looked at him. "The roof?" "Yes. We need to know. We need to see it." Sitnikov did not argue. He nodded. He turned and walked toward the reactor building. We watched him go. He disappeared into the smoke and the glow. We stood there, waiting. I do not know how long. 10 minutes. 20. Time felt strange. too fast and too slow at the same time. Sitnikov did not come back. Eventually, someone else came to find us, one of the plant operators. He said that Sitnikov had gone to the roof level. He had looked down into the reactor hall. He had seen the core. He had seen it glowing. "Where is he now?" Brukhanov asked. "He is vomiting. He cannot stand." That was when I felt it, not fear exactly, but something close. A tightness in my chest, a ringing in my ears that would not stop. Brukhanov looked at Fomin. "We need to get readings. We need to measure the radiation levels." Fomin nodded. He turned to Petrovsky. "Get the dosimeters. The good ones, not the low-range ones." Petrovsky left. He came back 10 minutes later with 3 dosimeters. He handed one to Fomin, one to me, one to Brukhanov. I turned mine on. The needle jumped immediately. It hit the maximum reading, 3.6 Roentgen per hour. That was the highest the device could measure. 3.6, I said. "That is not so bad." Fomin looked at his. "Mine says the same." Brukhanov checked his. 3.6. We all stood there looking at the dosimeters. 3.6 Roentgen per hour. That was high, but not catastrophic, not lethal, not immediately. But the dosimeters were maxed out, which meant the real reading could be higher, much higher. But we did not know how much higher. "We need better equipment," Fomin said. "Where?" Brukhanov asked. "The military. They have high-range dosimeters." "How long will that take?" "I do not know." "Hours." Brukhanov looked back at the reactor building. The glow was still there. The fire was still burning. The firemen were still spraying water. "We cannot wait hours," he said. "We need to know now. We need to know if the core is intact." That was when he turned to me. "Viktor Nikolaevich," he said, "I need you to go inside. I need you to go to the reactor hall. I need you to see the core with your own eyes and report back what you see." I stared at him. "Inside?" I repeated. "Yes, we need confirmation. We need to know." Sitnikov already... Sitnikov looked from above. "I need someone to go inside the hall, to see it from the floor level, to confirm." My mouth was dry. I could still taste the metal. The ringing in my ears was louder now. "If the core is exposed," I said slowly, "the radiation levels will be lethal." Brukhanov looked at me. His eyes were tired. "The dosimeters say 3.6. The dosimeters are maxed out. We do not know that for certain." He was lying. He knew. We all knew. But we were standing there pretending we did not know, because if we admitted we knew, we would have to admit what that meant. "I will go with you," Petrovsky said quietly. I turned to look at him. He was younger than me, maybe 30. He had a wife. I remembered meeting her once at a plant function. She was pregnant. "You do not have to," I said. "Neither do you," he said, "but someone has to." He was right. If no one went, if no one confirmed, then we would not know. And we needed to know. Because if the core was exposed, if the reactor was open to the air, then this was not just an accident. This was something that required evacuation. This was something that required the entire city to know. "All right," I said. "We will go." Brukhanov nodded. "Report back as soon as you can." Petrovsky and I walked toward the reactor building. We passed the firemen. We passed the pieces of debris. The glow got brighter. The air got thicker. My dosimeter was still reading 3.6. It had not changed. We reached the entrance to the reactor hall. The door was open. Inside, the walls were dark. There was smoke. There was dust. There were cables hanging from the ceiling, and there was light. That blue-white light coming from deeper inside. "Ready?" Petrovsky asked. I was not ready, but I nodded anyway. We stepped inside. The heat hit me first. It was like opening an oven. The air was so hot it hurt to breathe. I could feel it in my lungs. Thick, heavy. The metallic taste was stronger now. It coated the inside of my mouth, my teeth, my throat. We moved deeper into the hall. The light got brighter. I could hear water dripping. I could hear the crackling of fire. But there was another sound underneath. A low hum. Like electricity. Like the building itself was vibrating. We reached the edge of the reactor hall, and we saw it. The core. It was open, exposed. The entire top of the reactor had been blown off. I could see down into the core itself. The fuel rods, the graphite, everything glowing. Not red, not orange, blue, white. Colors that should not exist. Colors that hurt to look at. Petrovsky made a sound, not a word. Just a sound, like all the air had left his lungs at once. "We need to go," I said. "Yes," he said. We turned around. We walked back the way we came. Fast. Not running, but fast. My legs felt weak. My hands were shaking. The ringing in my ears was so loud I could barely hear anything else. We got outside. The night air felt cold now. Too cold. I bent over. I put my hands on my knees. I tried to breathe. Petrovsky was next to me. He was coughing. Deep, wet coughs. Brekhanov came over. "What did you see?" I looked up at him. I tried to speak. My voice came out wrong. Too quiet. "The core," I said. "It is gone. The reactor is open. I saw it." Brekhanov's face went pale. "You saw the core?" "Yes." "You are certain?" "I saw it with my own eyes. It is glowing. The fuel rods are exposed." He did not say anything. He just stood there, staring at me. Fomin came over. "That is not possible," he said. "The reactor cannot explode. It is physically impossible. There must be something else. A hydrogen explosion. A steam explosion. The core is intact." "It is not," I said. "I saw it." "You are mistaken." I felt anger then, sharp and sudden. I stood up straight. I looked at Fomin. "I am not mistaken. I saw the core. The reactor is open to the air. The fuel is exposed." Fomin shook his head. "The dosimeters only read 3.6. If the core was exposed, the readings would be higher. The dosimeters are maxed out." "We do not know that. I know that. Because I went inside. Because I saw it." We stared at each other. Neither of us looked away. Finally, Brekhanov stepped between us. "We need to call Moscow. We need to report this. If these stories matter to you, consider subscribing and turning on notifications. This channel exists to remember what official reports often forget. They called Moscow. I do not know what they said. I was not in the room. I was outside with Petrovsky. We were sitting on the ground near the administrative building. Other engineers were gathering. They were asking questions. What happened? Is it bad? Can they fix it? I did not answer. I just sat there, staring at the glow. Petrovsky kept coughing. His face was red. There was sweat on his forehead, even though the night air was cold. "Are you all right?" I asked. "I do not know," he said. "I feel strange. My head hurts. My stomach. We should get checked by a doctor. Later. First we need to—" He stopped. He leaned over and vomited. Once, twice, 3 times. When he was done, he wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. "I am fine," he said. He was not fine. I could see that. But I did not say anything. More people arrived. Military trucks, police cars, men in uniforms. Someone set up a decontamination station near the entrance to the plant. They told everyone who had been near Unit 4 to go through it. Wash your hands. Wash your face. Change your clothes. I went through the station. The water was cold. There was soap. Industrial soap that smelled like chemicals. I scrubbed my hands. My face, my neck. The water ran gray. I looked down at my hands. They looked normal, but they felt wrong. Numb, tingly. I changed into a clean set of work clothes. They gave me new boots. They told me to leave my old clothes in a bag. They would dispose of them. Dispose of them how? I asked. The man at the station shrugged. I do not know. They just told me to collect them. I went back outside. The sky was starting to lighten. Dawn was coming. The glow from the reactor was still there, but it looked different now. Less blue, more red. The fire was still burning. I saw one of the firemen sitting on the ground. He was young, maybe 22. His helmet was off. His face was covered in soot and sweat. He was drinking water from a canteen. "Are you all right?" I asked him. He looked up at me. His eyes were strange. The whites were red, bloodshot. "We put it out," he said. "We put the fire out. But it keeps coming back. Every time we put it out, it starts again. You should rest." "I cannot rest. There are still fires on the roof. Small ones. We need to put them out before they spread." "You have been here for hours. You need to rest." He shook his head. "I am fine. I am strong." He stood up. He put his helmet back on. He walked back toward the reactor building. I watched him go. I wanted to stop him. I wanted to tell him not to go back. But I did not. I did not have the authority, and I did not have the words. I went back to the control room. Brukhanov was there. He was on the phone. He was talking to someone in Moscow. I could hear parts of the conversation. "No, I do not have exact figures. Yes, there has been damage. No, we are still assessing. I understand. Yes, I will keep you informed." He hung up. He looked at me. "Moscow wants a full report. They want numbers, radiation levels, casualty counts. They want everything." "What did you tell them?" "I told them what I know. There was an explosion. There is a fire. The reactor has been damaged." "Did you tell them the core is exposed?" He hesitated. "I told them there is significant damage." "That is not the same thing." "I told them what I could confirm. I confirmed it. I saw it." "One observation is not enough. We need more data. We need measurements. We need to evacuate the city," I said. The room went quiet. Everyone turned to look at me. Brukhanov, Fomin, the other engineers. "Evacuate?" Brukhanov repeated. "Yes, if the core is exposed, the radiation levels will be lethal. The wind is blowing north, toward Pripyat. We need to evacuate." Fomin stepped forward. "We cannot evacuate, not without authorization, not without proof." "I gave you proof. I told you what I saw." "Your observation is not proof. We need measurements. We need official confirmation." "How many measurements do you need? How many people need to see it before you believe it?" "Viktor Nikolaevich," Brukhanov said quietly, "I understand you are upset, but we cannot make decisions like this without proper authority. We need to wait for orders from Moscow." "How long will that take?" "I do not know. Hours. Maybe a day." "A day?" I stared at him. "People are sleeping in their beds. Children are sleeping. In a few hours they will wake up. They will eat breakfast. They will go outside to play. And the entire time they will be breathing radioactive air. We do not know the levels are that high. We do not know they are not." We stood there. The argument hung between us. No one spoke. Finally, Brukhanov said, "I will call Moscow again. I will request authorization for evacuation. But until I receive that authorization, we do nothing. Do you understand?" I did not answer. I turned and walked out of the control room. Outside, the sun was rising. The sky was orange and pink. Beautiful. It looked like any other morning. The birds were singing. The trees were green. Everything looked normal. But the glow was still there. Fainter now in the daylight, but still there. I walked to my car. I sat in the driver's seat. I did not start the engine. I just sat there, I thought about Galina. I thought about Anya. They were at home, asleep, 17 kilometers away. Close enough to be in danger. Too far for me to protect them. I started the car. I drove home. The roads were still empty. It was early, 6 in the morning. Most people were still asleep. I passed a few buses, a few trucks. Everything looked normal. I reached my apartment building. I parked. I went upstairs. I opened the door quietly. Galina was in the kitchen. She was making tea. She turned when she heard me. "You are back," she said. "Is everything all right?" I looked at her. I tried to find the words. I did not know what to say. I did not know how to explain what I had seen. I did not know how to make her understand without frightening her. "There was an accident," I said. "At the plant. A serious one." She set down her teacup. "How serious?" "I do not know yet. We are still assessing. But I think you and Anya should leave. Today. Go to your mother's house in Kiev." "Today? We were not planning to leave until tomorrow." "I know, but I think you should go today, as soon as possible." She looked at me. Really looked at me. She saw something in my face, something that made her afraid. "Victor," she said quietly. "What happened? I cannot explain it right now. I just need you to trust me. Pack a bag, wake Anya, go to Kiev. Today." "For how long?" "I do not know. A few days. Maybe longer." "What about you?" "I need to stay. I need to work." "You just got home." "I know. But they need me at the plant. This is serious. I need to go back." She did not argue. She just nodded. "All right, we will go." I kissed her forehead. The same way I'd kissed her the night before. Lavender. She still smelled like lavender. "I love you," I said. "I love you too." That was the last time I saw her without protective equipment between us. I went back to the plant. The situation had not improved. More fires had started. The firemen were exhausted. Some of them had collapsed. They were being taken to the hospital. No one was saying why. Brukhanov gathered all senior engineers. We met in the conference room. There were maybe 20 of us. He told us that Moscow had authorized a limited evacuation. Not the entire city, just the areas closest to the plant. 30 kilometers. Anyone within 30 kilometers would be evacuated starting this afternoon. "This afternoon?" someone asked. "Why not now?" "They need time to organize buses, time to prepare shelters. It will begin at 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock, 8 hours from now." I looked around the room. Everyone had the same expression. Disbelief, fear. But no one said anything. No one argued. Because what could we say? The decision had been made. "What do we do until then?" I asked. "We continue to assess. We continue to measure. We continue to put out fires. We do our jobs." Our jobs. As if this was a normal day. As if the reactor was not glowing. As if the air was not poison. I went back to work. I spent the day with other engineers measuring radiation levels. We went to different areas around the plant. We took readings. We wrote them down. The numbers were all wrong. Too high. Far too high. In one area, near the turbine hall, my dosimeter stopped working. The needle went past the maximum and stuck there. I got a new dosimeter. Same thing. "It is broken," one of the other engineers said. "They are all broken," I said, "or the levels are off the scale." He did not respond. He just kept walking. At noon, I saw workers from Pripyat arriving for their shifts. They came in cars and buses. They were laughing, talking, smoking cigarettes. They did not know. No one had told them. I stopped one of them, a young man, maybe 25. "You should not be here," I told him. "Why not? I am on shift." "There has been an accident. The radiation levels are dangerous." He looked at me like I was crazy. The managers said everything was fine. They said we should come to work. The managers are wrong. Are you a manager? I am an engineer. Then I will listen to my manager. He walked past me, into the plant. I did not stop him. What could I do? Physically prevent him from working? I had no authority. I felt helpless, useless. I could not protect my family. I could not protect these workers. I could not do anything except take measurements and write them down and watch people walk into danger. At 2 o'clock, the buses came. They drove through Pripyat. They announced over loudspeakers that everyone needed to evacuate. Temporarily. Just for 3 days. Bring nothing. Leave everything. You will be back soon. People believed them. They got on the buses. They brought nothing. They left their homes, their belongings, their lives. They did not come back in 3 days. They never came back. I worked at the plant for 6 more days. I did not go home. There was no home to go to. Galina and Anya were in Kiev. I slept in the administrative building. A few hours here and there. I ate when someone brought food. I drank water. I kept working. On the 7th day, they told me to leave. They said I had received too much radiation. They said I needed to go to the hospital for observation. I feel fine, I said. You need to go, Bruhanov said. That is an order. I went to the hospital in Moscow. They put me in a special ward. There were other workers there. Firemen, operators, engineers. We all looked normal. Some of us felt fine. Some of us were vomiting. Some of us had burns. But we all looked like people. The doctors told us we had received high doses of radiation. They told us they would treat us. They told us we would be fine. They were lying. Petrovsky was in the bed next to mine. He was the engineer who had gone into the reactor hall with me. He had been vomiting since the first day. He could not keep food down. His skin was starting to peel. How are you feeling? I asked him. Not good, he said. His voice was weak. I cannot stop thinking about my wife. She is pregnant. Did I tell you that? Yes, you told me. I hope the baby is all right. I hope I did not. I hope it is all right. It will be fine, I said. He closed his eyes. I am tired, Viktor Nikolaevich. I am so tired. Then rest. He did not respond. He just lay there, breathing slowly. He died 3 days later. His body simply gave up. The radiation had destroyed his bone marrow, his immune system, his organs. There was nothing the doctors could do. I went to his funeral. There were only a few people there. His wife, his parents, a few engineers from the plant. They buried him in a lead coffin. They said it was for safety. They said the body was still radioactive. His wife stood at the grave. Her belly was round, 6 months pregnant. She did not cry. She just stood there, staring at the coffin. After the funeral, she came to me. Did he say anything? At the end, did he leave a message? I thought about lying. I thought about telling her he said something beautiful, something comforting, but I did not. He said he hoped the baby would be all right. I told her. She nodded. Thank you. She walked away. I never saw her again. I stayed in the hospital for 2 months. They ran tests. They gave me transfusions. They monitored my blood. They told me I was lucky. I had received a high dose, but not lethal, not like the others. When they released me, they gave me a certificate. It said I was a liquidator, someone who had helped clean up the disaster. It said I was entitled to certain benefits. Extra food rations, priority medical care, a pension. I did not feel lucky. I went to Kiev. Galina and Anya were still staying with her mother. When I walked through the door, Anya ran to me. She hugged my legs. She was so happy to see me. Papa, you are back. Can we go home now? I looked at Galina. Her face was pale. She knew. Someone had told her about the reactor, about the radiation, about what had happened to the workers. Not yet, I said to Anya. Soon. But not yet. Why not? I miss my toys. I miss my bed. We will get you new toys, Galina said quietly. New everything. Anya looked confused. Why do I need new toys? My toys are at home. Your old toys? They are not safe anymore, Galina said. Why not? They just are not. Come, let us make dinner. She led Anya to the kitchen. I stood in the doorway. I watched them, my wife and my daughter. They looked the same, but everything was different now. That night, after Anya was asleep, Galina asked me what had happened. I told her. I told her about the explosion, about the core, about going inside, about Petrovsky, about the hospital, about the funerals. She listened. She did not interrupt. When I was done, she took my hand. Are you all right? She asked. I do not know, I said. I feel fine, but the doctors said it takes time. They said the damage happens slowly. How slowly? Years, maybe decades. They do not know. She squeezed my hand. We will figure it out, together. I wanted to believe her, but I did not. That was 38 years ago. I am 72 now. I have outlived most of the other liquidators. Petrovsky died in 1986. Many of the firemen died in 1986. The operators, the workers. One by one they died. Some from radiation sickness, some from cancer, some from other illnesses that the doctors said were unrelated, but we all knew the truth. I have had cancer twice. Thyroid cancer in 1993, lung cancer in 2007. Both times I survived. The doctors said I was lucky. I do not feel lucky. Galina is still with me. Anya is grown now. She has children of her own. 2 boys. They are healthy. The doctors tested them for genetic damage. They found nothing. I am grateful for that. I still have nightmares about the glow, about the light, about walking into the reactor hall and seeing the core exposed. Sometimes I wake up and I can still taste the metal in my mouth. I can still feel the heat on my skin. I do not talk about it much. Most people do not want to hear. They want to forget. They want to move on. Chernobyl is history now, a lesson, a tragedy. But people do not want to dwell on it. But I cannot forget, because I was there. I saw it. I walked into the reactor hall. I saw the core with my own eyes. They told us the core was intact. They told us the radiation levels were safe. They told us everything would be fine. They lied. Not because they were cruel, but because they did not want to believe the truth. Because the truth was too terrible, too big, too catastrophic. So they told themselves it was not that bad. They told themselves the dosimeters were accurate. They told themselves the reactor could not have exploded. And people died because of those lies. Not just the firemen, not just the workers, but the people in Pripyat. The people who stayed too long. The children who played outside. The mothers who hung laundry in their yards. The teachers who kept schools open. They all breathed the air. They all drank the water. They all absorbed the radiation. And years later, they got sick. They got cancer. Their children were born with defects. Their grandchildren carried genetic damage. All because someone decided that the truth was too dangerous to tell. I think about that sometimes. About how many lives could have been saved if someone had just told the truth immediately. If Brukhanov had called Moscow and said, "The core is exposed. We need to evacuate the entire city. Now." If Fomin had not insisted the reactor could not explode. If Dyatlov had admitted his test had gone wrong, but they did not. And so people died. Slowly. Over years and decades. I am one of the lucky ones. I am still alive. But I carry the guilt, the knowledge, the understanding that I saw the danger and I could not make anyone listen. That is the real damage of Chernobyl. Not just the radiation, But the lies, the denial, the refusal to face the truth until it was too late. I do not know how much time I have left. A year? 5 years? 10? It does not matter. What matters is that I was there. I saw what happened. And I remember. Someone needs to remember. Because the official reports will say the reactor was damaged, but the response was quick. They will say casualties were minimal. They will say everything was handled correctly. But I was there. I walked into the reactor hall. I saw the core glowing. I breathed the air. I tasted the metal. And I know the truth.